operational was oftenly considered as nice to have. Some organizations had a SOC, many did not. Security team was mainly focused on firewall, parameters control, and periodically audit. But today, the reality is very different. Organizations are operating in environment that are far more connected, far more distributed, and far more exposed than ever before. And because of that, security operational is not longer option. It has become a core business functionality. So the first driven is digital transformation. And organizations have moved from cloud first architecture, SaaS platform, and highly distributed environment. Your workspace is not longer inside and one office. Today we have cloud native application, third party integration, remote user accessing our system from anywhere. Business has become always connected, and while the transformation enable speed and innovation, it is dynamically increasing the visibility challenge. Because of security team must now monitoring systems, identities, application, and users across many environments. So the first challenge we see is that digital transformation expand the environment we must be protected, and when the environment expand, so does the attack surface also. So today organizations have more entry point than ever before. Endpoints and device, web application, API, user identity, and credentials. And each integration make business more productivity. So but it also create a new path for attacker can use. In fact, many modern breaches doesn't start with only exploit. They start with very simple access point, credential compromise, expose APIs, misconfiguration service. Attacker today rely not into just breaking. Very oftenly they simple login, and that's why the security operation must move from periodic check to the continuously monitoring. But the challenge doesn't stop here. So the third factor challenge is the security operation is a business and regulatory pressure. So security incident today are not just a technical problem. The the business events they affect the revenue, customer trust, and brand reputation. Because of that, security accountability has moved beyond the IT department. Today, the leadership team are asking questions like how quickly we can detect an incident, how fast we can investigate it, are we ready for regular audits? Organization must now demonstrate the compliance readiness, audit visibility, boardroom reporting. So, which means security operation must produce clear evidence, structure monitoring, and measurable outcomes. Security has become business reliance functions. And that bring the 24 into SOC operation. SOC, because attacker doesn't operate during the business hours. The activity can happen anytime. So some organizations are required continuously monitoring threat detection, incident investigation, and rapid response. The role of SOC today is not just watching the dashboard. It is detect the threat early, investigate them quickly, and reduce the impact on business. In other words, security operation is not longer supporting activity. It become a critical operation capability. But here, interesting part, even though many organizations have a SOC, that does not automatically means they are secure. And that what actually we are exploring next. Now, here's an uncomfortable truth is many organizations believe that they have a SOC that they automatically mean they are secure. They have monitoring dashboard, they have alerts, they have analytical watching their infrastructure around the clock. On paper, everything looks good. But if we are looking the real world incident, breach still happen, response is often delayed, the organization is still struggling to understand what actually happened. So the question was rise like, do we have a SOC or is our SOC actually delivering the actual outcome? So let's break this. The first one is 24 into 7 monitoring. When an organization invests in SOC, they expected is the continuous visibility. A security team monitoring their infrastructure around the clock. Alert are generated. The goal is simple: detect the threat early as possible. That's the promise of 24 into 24 into 7 monitoring. Then the second promise is threat detection. The SOC is expected to identify the malicious activity, suspicious behavior, attack indicator, potential compromise. The idea is that if something goes wrong, the SOC will see it. And the next promise is incident response. So once the threat is detected, analyze, investigate it. They contain an incident, coordinate with a remediation action, and prevent the attack from spreading further. And the unlimited, the business expect as one outcome is that less disturbance, fast containment, protect our brand reputation and customer trust. This is what an organization believe a SOC should deliver. And the theory around that sound perfect, but the reality is very oftenly. So we are talking about this. So the first challenge, the alert volume. Modern environment generate thousands of alert every day. Many of them are informal, many of them are low level, medium level, and these are truly important signal. Often get burn out from the thousands of logs. Then after it's come to the second challenge is the false positive. Many alerts turn out to be a being active, normal user behavior, misconfiguration rule, and non-malicious anomalies. And analysis spend much time on investigation the false positive logs. Then after it's come is a manual investigation. The security analysts often have to correlated their logs with a multiple other tools. Logging logs in one system, alerts in another system, endpoint telemetry somewhere else. And switching between these tools take too much time to investigate and the logs incident. Okay, and the result of this is delay response. Some incidents are confirmed hour later, some incident even a day later. By the time threat is understood, the business impact may have already occurred. So the problem is not in the lack of monitoring. The problem is not monitoring alone is not enough. Security operation must move beyond just generating the alert. They must deliver clarity, context, and fast decision making. And that lead us to the next question. What should an effective SOC actually focus on every day? So let's look at the real problem. When an organization is struggling with a security operation, the first reaction is usually we need more tool, or maybe a new SIEM, or maybe a better EDR, or maybe a more threat intel. But the reality, the problem is rely on the lack of tool. The most organizations already have the powerful security stack. The challenge lies somewhere else. Let's walk through and see what's inside the most SOC environment. Yeah, at the top of the stack, we have security tools, SIEM platform, endpoint detection, cloud security tools, identity monitoring. Organizations invest heavily here. And those tools are extremely powerful. They collect massive amount of data across the environment, but tool alone doesn't solve the problem. Because monitoring this system is start operating, they been generating a telemetries of logs. Then every system generate a log, event, and telemetries, user login, API calls, network connected application behavior. All of this data flow continuously into the SIEM platform. At the first thing, this it's look very good because more visibility means more better security, but the environment grow. The volume of data become noisy, and that lead us to the next step is alert creation. Rules look for the suspicious behavior like unusual login, possible malware activity, anonymous network traffic. Each each alert represent a potential signal, but detection rule oftenly with a different confidence level. Some rules are high, some rules are low, some rules are medium. Other are just an indicator that some unusual things are happening in the environment. And when the thousands of systems generate telemetry, those rules start triggering very frequently. And that's and that's the real problem begins. Security teams start receiving thousands of alerts every day. Some alerts are important, many are not. But even a alert must be reviewed and validate. Analysis must have to switch between the different tools, checking log in one platform, endpoint in a different platform, and the identity events in a different. So workload increased dynamically, and the system being created the pressure on the people who are investigate this thing. And and at the center of this, we have a SOC analysis. Human analysis are responsible for investigation alert. They must determine is that a real attack or just a normal behavior or manual review log correlated the event and try to understand the situation. But when analysis handle the hundreds of log every day, the alert fatigue is increased. Investigation goes slow down. Important signal may be missed, and eventually the entire system reached the break point. And that this is the decision bottleneck, and it's create a bottleneck where the alert pile up for the invest that because of investigation slow down, response time increase, mean time to response becomes slower. False positives saturated the workflow, and incident may only confident after damage has already begun. So the issue is not organization lack of technology. The issue is that the security operation often generate more signal than teams can effectively process. So how do we move from alert driven operation to the investigate driven security? What should an effective SOC actually focus on every day? So the problem is not lack of tool. And if the monitoring along does not automatically create a security, then the natural question becomes like, what should an effective SOC actually focus on every day? Because modern security operations are not only about just watching a dashboard; they are about to making the right decision quickly. And for that happen, there is a four capabilities that every mature SOC must develop. So let me break down this. The first capability is visibility. But here something is important. Visibility does not mean collecting every possible logs. Many organizations collect massive volume of data's logs, but they still lack meaningful visibility. So what actually matter to the right logs? Logs that help us to answer this critical question. What request happen? Who initiate it, from where, against which system. An effective stock ensure coverage across the critical asset, not just data collection. Because if cannot clearly see what is happening in your environment, you cannot effectively protect it. And the second capability is the context. From this is where many SOC struggle. Traditional alert system of late trade every single has a isolate event, but attacker doesn't operate in isolate action. They operate in pattern, recognition, access, privilege escalation, and lateral movement. And effective SOC connect events together, understand how the activity related to each other, and more importantly, it evaluate business reliance because not every alert matter equal. Context helps security team understand, is this just unusual activity or it is just a part of attack chain. So the third capability is investigation. Once a suspicious activity is identified, analysis must answer the critical questions, just like what actually happened. And answer these questions required evidence, not assumption. And effective search must able to analyze the event at a request level, understands like what request was made, what parameter are used, and what response occur from the server. That allow the team to reconstruct the incident clarity because without a proper investigate capability, the security team are just like guessing. The last final capability is action because visibility and investigation alone are not enough. Security operation must lead to the decision, and those decisions must happen before business impact occur. So that means responsibility quickly, containment the threat, the authoring the right remediation step, and effective SOC ensure that once the threat is confirmed, the response is timely, structured, and coordinated. So if we summarize this framework, a mature SOC focus on four things. visibility, context, investigation, and action. Not just alert, not just a dashboard, but a clear understanding and fast decision making. And where this capability work together, a SOC operation finally began from the real business production. By achieving this level of visibility and investigation required some very specification. In required deep visibility into what actually happened inside inside a logs. So at this lead us to the next topic is request visibility without exposing sensitive data. So now let's talk about something extremely important in modern security operation is request visibility. Does your SOC capture the request and response of the web application logs? Have you ever seen that whenever the payload is detected, what's your server response to that payload? So yeah. So what actually happened in the request? What request was sent? What parameter are used? What response did the system generated? But here is the challenge. To investigate the attack properly, we need a deep visibility into the application activity. At the same time, organization must protect sensitive data and privacy. So the question became, how do we gain deep visibility without exposing our sensitive information? So we are first talking. So the first step is capturing the request, and whenever you are capturing the web logs, so we absorb the incoming get and post traffic that allow us to understand the basic details such as request method, request URL, header associated with the request. That's provide a foundation of visibility. But the single request alone doesn't give a full story. So which means we have to move to the next step is correlation. The second comes is correlation. An effective SOC must link the request and response together. Instead of seeing isolated event, we build a single transaction view. So that help us to understand what request was made, what response was written, and how the system behave at that time. Correlation transfer raw traffic into the meaningful activity. Now come to the critical part, protecting the sensitive information. So when we are capturing the request and response, the application only contain the sensitive field like password, token, sensitive identifier, and personal data. So before storing the data, we ensure that sensitive fields are masked. That means the system privacy safe by default and security team gain visibility without losing the customer data, leaking the customer data. Hmm. However, when a suspicious activity is detected, the system must behave differently. If a payload are identified, relieve the value that can relevant for the investigation that allow the analysis to clear understand what payload was used, what attacker pattern were used. This step helps the security team to identify the real nature of attack. And once the suspicious activity is confirmed, we next priority is the prevent the context. So we retain the payload context and transaction details that become extremely valuable for the root cause analysis, forensic investigation, and incident documentation. Preventing the right evidence ensure that security team can reconstruct the attacker later. Okay, now the analyst can perform deep investigation. At this stage, team analyze the full transaction, identify the root cause, the reconstruct the incident step by step. They remove the guessing work and provide a clear technical understanding of what actually happened. Okay. Finally, all these are information feed into the continuously monitoring structure investigation record as maintained that allow the fast trigger and fast response. Over a time, the improvement detect accuracy and operational efficiently. Security operation become more productivity, more informative, and more effective. So the goal is not just simply collecting the more data. The goal is just creating a meaningful visibility that support investigation while protecting the sensitive information. When a security team was clear, understand the request, payload, and behavior, they can make a fast and more confident security decision. And that's where our SOC operation became deliver the real value to the business. So this is how the modern SOC operate must evaluate from alert driven monitoring to the investigate driven security. All right. So that's bring us to the end of the session. First of all, thank you for everyone for joining today and spending this time with us. I really appreciate, especially in the middle of busy day. I hope the decision give you some useful insight on how security operation are evaluated and why simply having a SOC doesn't means to translate into a real security outcome. At this point, I love to open for a questions. Yeah. If you have any question, you can freely ask to me.
Thank you, Mulayam. This session was very informative.
Yeah. Have you guys? Do you have any questions regarding throughout all the season? Okay, I think everyone have understood very clearly. So around these things, thank you so much for joining once again, and thank you so much for joining the session. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.